Cannibalism, which is when people eat the flesh of other people, might seem like a fun and innocent idea to some. However, it's actually very dangerous. In fact, a lot of people consider it to be something that's really not okay, but I don't agree with them. I think that if it's done with proper guidance, cannibalism can be a positive experience in life. It's what made me who I am today, but for most of history, people have looked at cannibalism in a very negative way, and there's a good reason for that. All around the world, there have been times when cannibalism went too far. Sometimes, people went on journeys to places that no one knew about, and those trips ended up with people being killed and eaten. There were also some groups who taught parents to eat their own children, which is really scary, and there were even more horrifying situations. In the 1600s, Europeans were exploring and settling in new places, and they heard a lot of scary stories about cannibalism. Many of these settlements were in the Americas, and they had a tough time. They were in places where they didn't know anyone, the land was strange to them, and they didn't have much food. Some of them even ran out of food completely and had to eat other people. This was really bad. But it wasn't just the Europeans who did this. Many native cultures had been eating people for a long time, so it's not surprising that many of the worst stories about cannibalism come from these parts of the world. One person known for this was Boone Helm, also known as the Kentucky Cannibal. He is believed to be America's first serial killer. Some people give this title to someone else, but when Boone Helm died, he was only 3 years old. Boone Helm was born into a good family in Kentucky in the 1820s, but he was different from his parents. He grew up doing bad things and being violent. People in his area didn't like him because of this, so he decided to move to California. This was during the time of the gold rush in California, and he thought he could get rich there. He even asked his cousin to go with him, but when his cousin said no, he got really mad and killed him. In California, he killed several other men and had to move again. This time, he joined a group of outlaws who stole and did bad things all across the Old West. But while they were in southern Idaho, they were attacked by native people, and they had to run away into the mountains. Now, they were in a place where nobody had been before, and it was winter, which was the worst time to be there. In just a few days, they had eaten all of their horses, but that didn't save them. As they walked through the snow, more and more people in the group died until it was just Boone Helm and one other person left. Boone Helm and his friend kept going, and it was their strong will that kept them moving. But even that was not enough. Eventually, the last person with Boone Helm shot himself. This changed Boone Helm into a really scary person. He was alone in the wilderness, tired from walking on foot for days, and he became the Kentucky Cannibal. He cut off a man's legs, ate one of them right away, and saved the other for later. By luck, he was found by a Mormon who was passing by and was taken to Salt Lake City, a small town. There, he got better, but he had developed a taste for human flesh and never became the person he was before. A lot of what happened in Boone Helm's life is not known, but we do know that he killed at least 11 people. It might even be more than that. At one point, he was sent to a mental hospital, but he managed to escape. Either way, he went back to a life of crime, stealing and fighting with guns in Oregon. He also kept eating people openly. Whenever Boone Helm was arrested for his murders, he would give money to the people who saw what happened, and the cases against him would fall apart. He seemed like he couldn't be caught, but a crazy, murderous, and cannibalistic person like him couldn't keep going for a long time in the Old West. After 14 years of doing bad things, Boone Helm was caught by a group of people who took the law into their own hands. They gave him a trial that wasn't official, and they hanged him. Even though they tried to keep it a secret, 6,000 people came to see it happen. So not only did these people decide to execute him for doing cannibalism, they couldn't even keep it a secret. Cannibalism has been seen on every continent, including Antarctica. In medieval Europe, it was popular for rich people to eat the powdered remains of ancient Egyptian mummies, thinking it would make them live longer. But they didn't know that they were actually eating the remains of recently dead slaves and criminals. This practice eventually became less popular. Cannibalism was also common in some tribes in Papua New Guinea, where people ate the flesh of their own tribe members who had recently died. But the conditions were really harsh, so there were always dead bodies to eat. In the 1950s, they ate so much human brain that they got a brain disease called kuru. The brain sometimes has a harmful protein called prion, and eating it can make you sick, kind of like mad cow disease. Kuru is always deadly, and it causes you to lose control of your muscles and laugh without meaning to. But they didn't know how the disease was spreading, so they kept eating brains of people who died from it, and the disease became an epidemic in their small community. Eventually, modern medicine came to their area, and they stopped eating people. But the disease takes a long time to show up in your body. So many people still had it in their brains, even if they stopped eating human flesh. The last person known to have kuru didn't show symptoms until 2004 and died the next year.